The night had settled over the dense forest like a heavy, suffocating blanket. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the charcoal sky, settling on the thick canopy of pine trees and blanketing the forest floor in pristine white. The air was sharp, each breath a visible plume of vapor in the bitter cold. Somewhere deep within this frozen wilderness, a solitary figure struggled against the merciless elements. Emily Dawson's body trembled uncontrollably as she lay half-buried in the snow, her clothes soaked and torn from the violent spin-out that had left her stranded. Her breath came in ragged gasps, the icy air burning her lungs as she fought to stay conscious. The car accident had happened hours ago, or maybe only minutes. Time had lost all meaning in the cold. Her fingers, numb and stiff, clawed weakly at the snow, desperate for warmth, desperate for any sign of help. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe to never miss a new video. And tell me, where are you watching this video from? I love seeing all different people come together for these stories. She was alone. The nearest road was miles away, swallowed by the forest and the thickening storm. Panic fluttered in her chest like a trapped bird, but she forced herself to stay still, to conserve what little energy remained. The sky above was an endless expanse of gray, the silhouettes of towering pines swaying ominously in the wind. She could only hope someone would find her before the cold claimed her completely. Not far from where Emily lay, another presence moved through the wilderness, less visible, but no less determined. Chief Navy SEAL Tyler Grant advanced with purposeful strides, his breath steady despite the chill. Clad in tactical gear designed for the harshest conditions, he was the embodiment of resilience. At his side, Rex, his loyal K9 partner, trotted with alertness, nose to the ground, ears twitching at every subtle sound the forest offered up. The snow crunched beneath their boots and paws, the only soundtrack for their training exercise in this remote stretch of wilderness. Tyler's face was set in a hard mask, but behind his steely gaze lingered a shadow of past missions, ghosts that never fully left him. Years of combat and survival had honed his instincts to razor sharpness, and tonight, those instincts told him something was wrong. The training was supposed to be routine, navigation, endurance, tracking exercises in the unforgiving cold. But the night air carried an undercurrent of unease he couldn't shake. Rex suddenly halted, his body stiffening as his keen nose caught a faint, unfamiliar scent. Tyler crouched low, watching the dog's every move. The animal's eyes flicked upward, then back toward the snow-covered ground, ears pricked in silent communication. Rex had found something. Someone. A faint sound reached Tyler's ears, a weak, desperate call barely audible over the wind. It was human, female, fragile, on the edge of collapse. Tyler's heart quickened. He motioned for Rex to follow the scent trail, and the dog surged forward, weaving expertly between trees and over frozen underbrush. Tyler pushed himself harder, muscles burning, lungs straining, matching Rex's pace without hesitation. The forest closed in around them, the towering evergreens casting long shadows that seemed to stretch and twist in the moonlight. The snow clung to branches like fragile glass, trembling with each gust of wind. Every step was a battle against nature's frozen grip, but Tyler's focus was unbreakable. He knew that out here, in this wilderness, survival depended on precision, trust, and relentless willpower. After several minutes that felt like hours, Rex stopped abruptly beside a shallow depression in the snow. Tyler knelt down to peer inside, his breath catching. There, partially covered in white, was Emily Dawson, her eyes flickering open just long enough to meet his before fluttering shut again. Her lips moved weakly, barely forming the sound of a plea for help. Tyler's hands were gentle but efficient as he cleared snow from around her face and checked her vitals. Her skin was icy cold, and her pulse was faint but steady. He spoke softly, words of reassurance barely audible over the wind. "You're going to be okay. We're here now." Rex lay down beside her, his warmth a small but vital comfort against the brutal cold. The dog's presence seemed to steady Emily, a flicker of recognition and trust in her fading gaze. Tyler reached into his pack, pulling out a thermal blanket and wrapping it carefully around her trembling frame. Every second counted. Hypothermia was a silent predator in this frozen wasteland. Tyler's mind raced as he assessed the situation. The car accident had left Emily vulnerable, exposed to the elements without shelter or supplies. The forest was vast and unforgiving, the storm growing stronger with every passing moment. He knew that getting her out alive would require all his training and every ounce of Rex's exceptional tracking ability. As Emily's breathing stabilized, Tyler radioed their base camp, his voice steady but urgent. "This is Grant. We have a survivor, female, mid-20s, hypothermic but stable for now. Initiate extraction protocol, ETA 20 minutes. The reply crackled through the static, confirming a rescue team was en route. For now, Tyler's priority was to keep her alive and conscious. He settled beside her, monitoring her condition, offering quiet words of encouragement. The forest seemed to hold its breath around them, the storm's fury momentarily subdued by the fragile hope of rescue. Emily's eyes opened wider, and she managed a weak smile, the first sign of life since the accident. "Thank you," she whispered, voice trembling but filled with relief. Rex nuzzled her gently, his warm breath a balm in the cold night. Tyler glanced toward the dark horizon, the faint glow of approaching headlamps promising salvation. But beneath the surface, he remained vigilant. This forest could be as deadly as any battlefield, and the night was far from over. For now, though, the bond between man, dog, and survivor was their strongest weapon against the cold and the darkness. As the snow continued to fall softly around them, the scene was set. Not just for a rescue, but for a story of survival, courage, and the unbreakable connection forged in the heart of the wilderness. The faint glow of the approaching rescue team's headlamps pierced the darkness, casting long shadows among the towering pines. But as Tyler Grant settled beside Emily Dawson, his attention shifted from the immediate rescue to the quiet rhythm of the forest around them. A rhythm broken only by the soft whine of the wind and the distant crackle of the radio. Emily's eyes fluttered open again, her breath shallow but steady beneath the thermal blanket Tyler had wrapped tightly around her. The cold still gnawed at her bones, but the warmth radiating from Rex, the dependable K9 lying protectively at her side, offered a fragile comfort. She tried to speak, her voice barely a whisper. "Where am I?" Tyler gave a small, reassuring nod. "You're safe. We found you out here in the woods. You were in a car accident." His voice was steady but gentle, knowing that even simple words could seem overwhelming in her fragile state. "What's your name?" "Emily," she breathed, a faint tremor in the syllable. Her eyelids fluttered again, heavy with exhaustion and the relentless cold. Tyler shifted slightly, careful not to disturb her more than necessary. "I'm Tyler Grant, Navy SEAL. This is Rex. We were on a training exercise nearby when we heard you. You're lucky we were close." Rex lifted his head and gave a soft, reassuring whine, as if confirming Tyler's words. The dog's intense amber eyes locked on Emily's, a bond quietly forming between them despite the chaos of the night. Tyler studied her more closely. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, evidence of the early stages of hypothermia. The storm outside had worsened, and the wind now howled through the trees like a restless spirit. He knew time was against them, but for the moment, Emily clung to consciousness, and that was a victory. "Can you tell me what happened?" Tyler asked, his voice low and calm. "Where were you headed?" Emily's gaze drifted upward, struggling to piece together the fragmented memories. "I was driving home from a friend's cabin. The road was icy. I lost control." Her voice faltered, but she pressed on. "I tried to call for help, but my phone died." The admission hung in the air, heavy with vulnerability. Tyler nodded, understanding the isolation she must have felt. Out here, cut off from civilization, the forest was both protector and predator. "You did the right thing by staying put. Help is coming." He glanced toward the faint lights moving steadily in their direction. "How long were you out here before we found you?" Emily's lips parted, but no answer came. The cold had stolen more than her strength. It had blurred the edges of time itself. She looked to Rex, who gently nudged her hand with his nose, grounding her in the present. Tyler's mind flicked back to Rex, the dog whose instincts were as sharp as any trained soldier's. The bond between them was the product of years. Countless missions, shared dangers, nights spent navigating hostile terrain. Rex was more than a partner. He was a lifeline. "Rex has a gift," Tyler said quietly. "He can pick up on things others miss. That's how we found you so quickly. He never gives up." The dog sat up, tail wagging slightly, as if acknowledging the praise. Tyler's gaze softened momentarily, memories surfacing of missions long past. Times when Rex's unerring senses had saved lives. Times when the line between survival and tragedy had hinged on a single instinct. Emily reached out, her fingers weak but determined, and touched Rex's fur. The dog responded by resting his head gently on her arm, offering warmth and silent reassurance. The connection between them was palpable, a testament to the extraordinary bond that could exist between human and animal, especially in moments of crisis. Tyler glanced back at Emily, noting the flicker of hope returning to her eyes. "We're going to get you out of here," he said firmly. "But first, we need to keep you warm and stable. Can you move your arms and legs?" She nodded slowly, testing her limbs. The numbness was profound, but the movement was there. A sign that her body was fighting back. Tyler carefully helped her adjust her position, shielding her from the worst of the wind with his own body. As the minutes passed, Tyler's mind raced through the logistics of the rescue. The storm was intensifying, and the terrain was treacherous. Extraction wouldn't be simple, not with the snow piling higher and the visibility shrinking. Every step forward would be a battle against nature's relentless grip. Yet beneath the surface of the crisis, Tyler found himself reflecting on the fragility of life in the wild. Out here, survival wasn't just about strength or skill. It was about connection, trust, and the will to keep moving forward. Emily's presence reminded him of that fragile balance, a life hanging by a thread, but still fighting. Rex shifted, standing and circling around to sniff the air. His ears twitched, alert to sounds beyond human perception. Tyler followed his gaze, eyes narrowing into the swirling darkness. The dog's training was unparalleled. He could sense danger long before it arrived. "Good boy," Tyler murmured, reaching into his pack for a small first aid kit. He worked quickly, checking Emily's pulse, clearing her airway, and applying a warming gel to her wrists and neck. Every action was methodical, practiced, a dance of precision honed by years of combat zones. Emily's eyelids fluttered again, exhaustion threatening to pull her under. Tyler's voice softened, coaxing her to stay awake. Keep talking to me. Tell me your name again, Emily. Where are you from? She smiled faintly, the sound of her voice growing steadier. Seattle. Tyler's mind registered the name with a strange familiarity. Seattle was a city of rain and resilience, a place where people fought their own battles every day. Here, in this frozen forest, that same spirit was alive in her struggle to survive. The distant sound of engines cut through the night, a welcome interruption. Tyler glanced toward the approaching rescue team, their headlights flickering through the trees like a beacon of hope. "We're almost there," he promised, squeezing Emily's hand gently. "Just hold on a little longer." Rex returned to Emily's side, pressing his warm body against hers, his presence a shield against the cold and fear. The dog's loyalty was unwavering, a silent vow to protect and serve no matter the cost. As the rescue team closed in, Tyler allowed himself a moment to breathe, to feel the weight of the night's events settle around him. The bond between man and dog, between survivor and rescuer, had carried them this far. It was a quiet strength, born of trust and tenacity. And as Emily's eyes met his once more, there was a flicker of something deeper. A spark of hope ignited in the heart of the wilderness, where the cold was harsh, but the human spirit burned brighter. The forest lay still beneath a heavy blanket of snow, the silence punctuated only by the sharp crunch of paws and boots breaking through the frozen underbrush. Rex's nose twitched, his keen senses alert to every nuance of the cold night. Ahead of him, Chief Navy SEAL Tyler Grant pressed forward with steady determination. Every muscle prepared for the grueling task of navigating the wilderness under the weight of urgency. It was Rex who first caught the faintest trace. A broken twig, a whisper of scent carried on the frigid wind, that signaled the presence of something or someone out of place in this vast expanse of white. His ears pricked sharply, body poised as he began to track precisely, weaving through the maze of pines and snowdrifts. Tyler followed close behind, trusting his partner's instincts implicitly. The night was unforgiving. The cold gnawed relentlessly at their exposed skin, the wind slicing through layers of protective gear. But for Tyler, the cold was merely a backdrop to the mission at hand. His mind was focused, trained to filter out distractions, to read the landscape through the eyes of both man and dog. Every step was deliberate, every breath measured. Rex's tracking ability was exceptional. Years of training had sharpened his senses beyond the ordinary, enabling him to pick up on the faintest human traces, footprints, scent trails, even the subtlest disturbances in the snow. Tonight, it was those abilities that gave hope to a woman lost and vulnerable in the wilderness. Tyler's thoughts drifted momentarily to the past, missions where Rex had been the difference between life and death. The silent communication between them, a language spoken in glances and subtle gestures, was forged through countless hours in hostile environments. Tonight, that bond would be tested once again. Suddenly, Rex halted, his body tense, nose hovering mere inches above the snow. Tyler crouched low, scanning the area with narrowed eyes. There, partially obscured by a drape of frost-laden branches, lay a faint imprint, a disturbed patch of snow imprinted with the soft outline of a boot. The trail was fresh but faint, a fragile thread leading deeper into the forest. Tyler nodded to Rex, signaling to move forward. The dog darted ahead, weaving deftly through the trees. Tyler matched his pace, heart pounding in rhythm with the crunch beneath their feet. The cold air burned his lungs, but he pushed on, driven by the knowledge that each second counted. After several tense minutes, a faint, almost imperceptible sound broke through the stillness. A weak, desperate voice calling out, barely audible over the howl of the wind. Tyler's pulse quickened. "Emily?" he called softly, the name a lifeline cast into the darkness. From beneath a thick blanket of snow and ice, a face emerged. Pale, gaunt, eyes fluttering with exhaustion and cold. Emily Dawson lay sprawled, limbs tangled in the unforgiving snow, her breath shallow and uneven. Tyler dropped to his knees beside her, his hands moving swiftly but gently to clear the snow and assess her condition. Her skin was icy to the touch, a cruel testament to the frigid night air that threatened to claim her. Tyler's fingers searched for a pulse, relief flooding through him when he found a faint but steady rhythm. "You're alive," he murmured, a mixture of relief and determination tightening his voice. Emily's eyes met his briefly, a flicker of recognition fighting through the haze of hypothermia. She tried to speak, but only a faint whisper escaped her lips. Tyler leaned closer, offering warmth with his breath and steady, reassuring words. "Hold on, Emily. We're here. We're going to get you out." Rex settled beside her, his warm body a barrier against the cold, his presence a silent promise of protection. The dog's amber eyes locked with Emily's, and for a moment, the harsh wilderness seemed to soften around them. Tyler's training kicked in as he worked to stabilize her. He wrapped her in a thermal blanket from his pack, layering it carefully to trap whatever warmth remained. His voice remained calm but urgent as he radioed their base. "This is Grant. Subject located. Condition critical but stable. Initiating extraction." The crackle of the radio was a lifeline in the vast expanse, the promise that help was on the way. But Tyler knew the storm was growing, the weather turning against them. The snow was falling harder now, thick flakes swirling in the wind like ghostly specters. As he monitored Emily's fragile state, Tyler's mind mapped out their path back, an intricate dance between survival and navigation. The forest was a maze of shadows and ice, each step fraught with hidden dangers. Avalanches, freezing water, and treacherous footing awaited at every turn. "Rex, stay close," Tyler commanded softly. The dog responded with a low growl, a warning echoing through the trees. Danger was never far, but Rex's presence was a shield against the unknown. Hours earlier, Tyler had been just another soldier on a routine patrol. Now, he was a lifeline, the pivotal force between life and death for a stranger caught in the wilderness's unforgiving clasp. The weight of responsibility settled on his shoulders, but he bore it with quiet resolve. Emily's breath hitched, a shiver racking her body despite the layers of protection. Tyler adjusted her position, checking for injuries and ensuring her airway remained clear. Every moment was a battle against hypothermia's creeping grasp. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath, the storm's fury momentarily subdued, as if granting reprieve for the fragile life clinging to survival beneath its icy shroud. Tyler's eyes scanned the horizon, searching for the faint glow of rescue lights. The promise of extraction was a beacon, but the journey back was perilous. Each step would test their endurance, their will. Rex's nose twitched, sniffing the air for threats and the safest path forward. His movements were fluid and precise, a dance of instinct and training that Tyler relied on implicitly. "Stay with me, Emily," Tyler whispered, his voice a tether in the cold night. The bond between man, dog, and survivor was forged in these moments, silent, unbreakable, driven by hope. As the storm began to churn anew, Tyler tightened his grip on Emily's hand. The forest was vast, the night long, but together they would fight through the darkness. The storm's relentless howl faded into the background as Tyler Grant knelt beside Emily Dawson, his breath ragged but steady in the frigid air. The snow had piled higher, muffling the forest's usual sounds, turning the world into a cold, silent tomb. Yet beneath that silence, a fragile heartbeat persisted, a fragile thread tethering Emily to life. Tyler's gloved hands moved with practiced urgency, checking her pulse again and again, each faint beat a victory against the creeping cold. Her eyes fluttered open, glazed and unfocused, but a flicker of recognition sparked when they met his. She tried to speak, lips trembling, voice barely audible. Cold. So cold. The words were a stark reminder of the enemy they faced. Hypothermia, a slow, merciless thief that sapped strength and will. Tyler's mind raced, recalling every lesson from survival training, every case where time had been the deciding factor, between rescue and tragedy. "Stay with me, Emily," he urged softly, pressing his gloved hand to her forehead, seeking warmth. "You're going to make it. We're going to get you out of here." Rex, ever vigilant, lay close by, his steady breathing a soothing presence against the harsh night. The dog's amber eyes never left Emily, as if guarding the fragile light that still burned within her. Tyler reached into his pack, pulling out a compact first aid kit. He worked quickly, applying warming gel to her wrists and neck, key pulse points where heat could be transferred most effectively. His movements were careful, balancing urgency with gentleness, knowing that every action could mean the difference between survival and surrender. Emily's teeth chattered uncontrollably, a stark contrast to the stillness of her body. Tyler wrapped an additional thermal blanket around her, layering it over the first, creating a cocoon against the biting cold. His own breath misted in the air as he whispered words of reassurance, fighting the despair that threatened to take hold. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The storm outside intensified, the wind rattling the branches overhead like distant thunder. Yet within this frozen wilderness, a fragile battle unfolded, one of willpower, endurance, and the unyielding human spirit. Tyler's eyes never left Emily's pale face, searching for signs of improvement. She clung to consciousness, eyelids heavy but refusing to close fully. The faint warmth from his hands and the blanket seemed to slow the march of the cold, buying precious time. He reached out, gently squeezing her hand. "You're strong," he said quietly. "You're going to pull through." Her fingers twitched in response, a small but powerful sign. Tyler allowed himself a brief moment of relief, though he knew the fight was far from over. As Emily's breathing steadied, fragments of her fear and exhaustion surfaced in her eyes. The isolation, the desperation of being alone in the wilderness, hung heavily between them. Tyler understood that rescue was as much psychological as it was physical. He spoke softly, weaving a thread of hope. "You're not alone anymore. Rex and we're with you." The dog lifted his head, resting it gently on Emily's arm, a presence both calming and protective. In that simple gesture, the bond between human and animal deepened, a silent promise that no one would be left behind. Tyler's thoughts flicked to the rescue team, now navigating the treacherous terrain toward them. The storm's fury threatened to delay their arrival, but he held on to the knowledge that help was near. Every second counted. In the brief respite, Tyler scanned Emily's face, noting the pale flush returning to her cheeks, a sign that the warming efforts were working. Her eyes focused more steadily, flickering with recognition and a faint spark of determination. "Tell me about yourself," Tyler urged, gently. "Where are you from?" Emily's voice was fragile but clear. "Seattle," she whispered. The name carried weight, a city known for resilience and rain-soaked determination. Tyler felt a connection, as if her spirit mirrored the tenacity of that place. He nodded, drawing strength from her resolve. "We'll get you home," he promised. The forest around them seemed to acknowledge the moment, the storm momentarily easing as if granting a brief reprieve. But Tyler knew the path ahead remained perilous. The extraction was still hours away, and the night was far from forgiving. Rex shifted, rising to his feet and circling the small clearing before settling again beside Emily. His instincts were alert, protective, a living shield against the unknown dangers lurking in the shadows. Tyler prepared to move, carefully adjusting Emily's position to ease her discomfort and prevent further injury. Each movement was cautious, mindful of her fragile state. "Hold on just a little longer," he said softly, voice steady and resolute. "We're almost out of the woods." Emily's eyes closed briefly, exhaustion overtaking her. But she clung to Tyler's hand with surprising strength. The connection between them was a lifeline, a tether pulling her back from the brink. Tyler glanced toward the distant glow of the rescue team's lights, their approach slow but steady through the snow-covered forest. The knowledge that help was on the way bolstered his determination. As the storm whispered its fury outside their fragile sanctuary, the bond between rescuer, survivor, and loyal companion grew stronger. Each heartbeat, each breath, was a testament to resilience and hope. In that quiet moment, beneath the vast expanse of cold and night, Tyler understood the true weight of his mission, not just to save a life, but to preserve the spark of humanity flickering against the darkness. And so he stayed, unwavering, a guardian in the wilderness, holding fast to the promise that dawn would come. The wind had shifted, carrying with it heavier snow and a biting chill that seemed to seep into every bone. Tyler Grant tightened his jacket, the fabric stiff with frost, as he scanned the horizon where the faint glow of the rescue team's flashlights struggled against the thickening storm. The forest around them had transformed into a labyrinth of white, branches weighed down by ice, and the path back to safety was becoming increasingly treacherous. Emily Dawson's breaths came more steadily now, though her body remained fragile beneath the layers of thermal blankets. Her eyelids fluttered open, and for the first time in what felt like hours, she met Tyler's gaze with a glimmer of strength. "How much farther?" she asked, voice hoarse but steady. Tyler crouched beside her, his eyes sharp and resolute. "Not far," he assured her, though he knew better than to underestimate the wilderness. "We're going to make it out. But the weather's turning fast. We need to move carefully." The weight of the storm pressed down on them, a reminder that nature was as much an adversary as any battlefield. Tyler's military training kicked in, every muscle primed for the challenge ahead. He glanced at Rex, whose ears were perked, nose twitching as he surveyed the shifting snowdrifts. The dog's instincts were razor-sharp. Rex had already proven invaluable in tracking Emily's faint scent through the forest, and now he took the lead, weaving a careful path between hidden hazards beneath the snow. Tyler followed closely, his eyes darting between the moving shadows and the fragile figure he was guiding. As they moved, Emily's voice broke the steady rhythm of their steps. "The accident. It happened so fast. I was driving over the mountain road. The ice caught my tires, and then—" Her words faltered, fear flickering in her eyes. "I thought I was going to die out here." Tyler's expression softened, understanding the raw terror beneath her confession. "You survived," he said firmly. "That takes courage." Emily swallowed hard, her gaze drifting toward the dark woods. "I was alone for so long. I kept calling out, hoping someone would hear. And we did," Tyler said, glancing down at Rex, who wagged his tail slightly as if accepting the credit. He never stopped searching. The dog's unwavering loyalty was evident in every movement, every alert stance. Rex was more than a partner. He was a lifeline. Tyler remembered countless missions where the dog's acute senses had saved lives, guiding them through danger with unerring precision. Suddenly, the wind shifted again, carrying a distant rumble that echoed through the trees. Tyler's heart sank. He knew what it meant. A storm front was closing in, threatening to cut off their extraction route. The rescue team's arrival might be delayed, leaving them vulnerable. He quickened his pace, helping Emily steady herself as they navigated a narrow ridge slick with ice. Each step was a calculated risk, the frozen ground threatening to betray them with a single misstep. Tyler's eyes were unyielding, scanning for safe footing and signs of danger. "Almost there," he encouraged, though the distance seemed endless in the swirling snow. Emily's strength was waning, her limbs trembling as exhaustion set in. Tyler's grip on her arm was firm but gentle, a silent vow to carry her through the storm. Rex moved beside them, alert and vigilant, his keen senses detecting subtle shifts in the environment. A hidden crevasse, a patch of thin ice, warning them away from peril. The dog's presence was a steadying force, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. As they pushed forward, Emily shared fragments of her story, memories of the cabin where she'd been staying, the friends she'd left behind, the life that now felt distant and fragile. Tyler listened, offering quiet support, knowing that survival was as much about hope as it was about physical endurance. The storm's fury intensified, snow swirling in thick curtains that obscured vision and chilled the skin. Tyler's breath came in steady puffs, his focus unwavering despite the biting cold. Every step forward was a battle, but retreat was not an option. "Keep talking," he urged Emily, his voice a lifeline. "Tell me anything, what you see, what you remember." Her voice was faint but steady. "The cabin was small, cozy. I didn't want to leave, but I had to get back." Tyler nodded, drawing strength from her resilience. "We're going to get you back there and beyond. You're not alone anymore." Rex barked softly, breaking the tension as if affirming Tyler's words. The dog's loyalty was unshakable, a constant in the shifting wilderness. Suddenly, the snow gave way beneath Tyler's boot, a thin crust hiding a hidden stream below. He caught himself just in time, steadying Emily and signaling her to stop. The danger was real, as was the risk of exhaustion and injury. Tyler's military training took over, scanning the terrain for an alternate route. Rex sniffed the air, then veered left, leading them around the hazard. Tyler followed without hesitation, trusting Rex's instincts implicitly. Minutes later, the muted glow of the rescue team's flashlights appeared through the swirling snow, a beacon of hope and safety. Relief flooded Tyler's chest, mixed with exhaustion and pride in the bond that had carried them through the night. He helped Emily rise, supporting her as they moved toward the waiting team. The warmth of the rescue crew's presence was a stark contrast to the cold wilderness they'd just escaped. Tyler glanced back at Rex, whose amber eyes shone with quiet satisfaction. The dog had been the key to their survival, a steadfast guardian in the heart of the storm. As Emily was lifted onto a stretcher, Tyler felt the weight of the night's ordeal settle around him. The battle against the elements was not yet over, but for now, hope was alive and moving forward. Through the storm and shadow, the connection between man, dog, and survivor had forged a path out of darkness, a testament to courage, trust, and the unyielding human spirit. The storm's howl grew louder, a relentless chorus of wind and snow that whipped through the towering pines like a wild beast unleashed. Tyler Grant tightened his grip on the pack slung over his shoulder, glancing back at Emily Dawson's fragile form nestled beneath layers of thermal blankets on the stretcher. The rescue team moved steadily through the blizzard, their flashlights slicing through the swirling white, but the path ahead was anything but certain. Tyler's mind raced as he calculated their route back to base camp. The terrain was treacherous, hidden crevasses, slick ice, and the ever-present threat of avalanches lurking just beyond the next ridge. Every step forward would be a battle against the elements, requiring precision, endurance, and unwavering focus. Rex trotted alongside Tyler, nose to the ground, ears twitching with acute awareness. The K9's training was unmatched. His senses picked up on hazards long before humans could detect them. Tonight, Rex was their guide, their first line of defense against the forest's hidden dangers. "Stay sharp, Rex," Tyler murmured, eyes scanning the shifting snowdrifts. The dog responded with a low growl, alert and ready. The storm had transformed the familiar landscape into a maze of white, erasing trails and landmarks beneath its icy veil. Tyler relied on his military training, using every skill honed through years of survival missions. He consulted his GPS once, then quickly pocketed it. Technology was valuable, but in a storm like this, instincts and experience were paramount. They moved cautiously, Rex leading the way, sidestepping patches of thin ice and signaling with a sudden stop when a hidden crevasse threatened to swallow the team. Tyler directed the rescuers to circle wide, forging a safer path through dense thickets of frost-laden branches. Emily's breathing was steady but shallow, her body fragile beneath the layers of protection. Tyler checked her vitals again, reassuring the medics that she was stable but still vulnerable to the cold's creeping grasp. Every moment counted. As they pressed on, the storm's fury seemed to intensify, snowflakes swirling in blinding sheets. Visibility dropped to mere feet, forcing the team to slow their pace and rely heavily on Rex's senses. The dog moved with confidence, a beacon of calm in the chaos. Tyler's mind drifted briefly to the countless missions where Rex had been the difference between life and death. Scouts ahead in hostile territory, detectors of hidden explosives, companions in the darkest hours. Tonight was no different. Rex was their lifeline. The path wound steeply downward now, the forest thinning as they approached a narrow valley. Tyler's breath fogged in the cold air as he scanned for signs of danger. The snow's weight threatened to unleash an avalanche, and the slightest misstep could trigger disaster. He gestured for the team to halt, his voice firm but low. "We need to assess the slope. Rex, lead me down carefully." The dog stepped forward, pawing at the snow, testing the stability of the ground. Tyler followed closely, eyes sharp for cracks or shifts in the snowpack. After tense moments, Rex signaled a safe passage, and the team cautiously descended. Each step was deliberate, the tension palpable. Emily's stretcher was passed carefully from hand to hand, the rescuers moving as one to protect her from injury and exposure. Tyler kept close, ready to intervene at a moment's notice. As they reached the valley floor, the storm's roar dulled slightly, replaced by the steady crunch of boots and paws on packed snow. The landscape opened into a frozen riverbed, a natural corridor toward the base camp several miles away. Tyler allowed himself a brief moment of hope. The worst obstacles were behind them, but the journey was far from over. Suddenly, Rex halted, ears pricked and body tense. Tyler followed the dog's gaze and spotted a shadow moving through the trees, a lone figure emerging from the blizzard. Relief rushed through him as the figure stepped forward, a member of the advanced rescue team sent ahead to meet them. Tyler nodded sharply, signaling the approach of the backup. "We're on track," he reported into his radio, voice steady despite the exhaustion creeping into his limbs. Extraction point secured, preparing to move Emily to warm shelter. The rescue team member offered a grim smile. "We've been monitoring the storm. It's going to hold for another hour, then clear. You've timed this perfectly." Tyler allowed himself a small, grateful breath. The storm's relentlessness had tested them all, but now the end was in sight. He glanced down at Emily, whose eyes briefly opened, meeting his with a flicker of trust and gratitude. Rex rested his head gently on her arm, a silent guardian watching over her. Tyler crouched beside them, voice low and reassuring. "Almost there, just a little further." The team resumed their trek, moving swiftly but cautiously along the frozen riverbed. Tyler kept pace with Rex, whose nose led them through the safest route, avoiding thin ice and hidden hazards beneath the snow. As they neared the base camp, the warmth of the tents and the glow of lanterns spilled into the night, a stark contrast to the cold wilderness they'd fought through. The sounds of voices and machinery brought a renewed sense of hope. Tyler allowed himself a brief smile, the weight of the mission lifting with each step closer to safety. Emily's breathing remained steady, her fragile form cradled by the warmth and care of the rescue team. Rex stayed close, ever vigilant, a steadfast protector until the very end. The extraction was underway, a testament to endurance, trust, and the unbreakable bond between man and dog. Tyler knew the night had tested them all, but in the heart of the storm, they had found strength in each other and in the will to survive. The storm's fury had not relented. If anything, it seemed to intensify as Tyler Grant, Rex, and the rescue team pressed deeper into the frozen wilderness. Snow swirled in thick curtains, the wind howling like a banshee through the skeletal branches of the towering pines. Visibility was reduced to mere feet, and each step forward was an act of defiance against nature's brutal onslaught. Tyler's breath came in steady puffs, his muscles burning but resolute. Beside him, Rex moved with practiced agility, navigating the treacherous landscape with an instinct only years of training could hone. The dog's sharp eyes scanned the path ahead, alert for hidden dangers beneath the snow's deceptive surface. Emily lay cradled in the arms of the medics, wrapped in layers of thermal blankets, her pale face illuminated by the flickering glow of a portable heater. Her breathing was fragile but steady, a victory against the cold that threatened to claim her. Tyler moved close, offering quiet words of reassurance, the bond between rescuer and survivor growing stronger with every grueling mile. The path ahead was a gauntlet of ice-slicked rocks and hidden crevices, each step a test of balance and endurance. Tyler's military training took over as he scanned the terrain, plotting a route that minimized risk while maintaining forward momentum. The storm had erased familiar landmarks, turning the forest into a labyrinth of shadows and white. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the air. The unmistakable sound of shifting snow, a warning of impending avalanche. Tyler's eyes snapped toward the slope above, where a cascade of snow and ice began to tumble downward with terrifying speed. Time compressed into a heartbeat. "Move! Move!" Tyler shouted, his voice cutting through the roar of the storm. Rescue team members scrambled to react, hauling Emily to safety as they scrambled for cover. Rex barked fiercely, his protective instincts ignited as he positioned himself between Emily and the descending wall of snow. The avalanche thundered past, a wall of white fury that tore through the trees and shattered the silence. When the chaos subsided, the team regrouped, shaken but unharmed. Tyler's eyes searched for Emily, relieved to find her still breathing, nestled safely beneath the blankets. "That was close," Tyler muttered, his voice tight with adrenaline. "We need to keep moving. The storm's not done with us." Rex stayed close, padding silently beside Tyler, his amber eyes reflecting the swirling snow. The dog's calm presence was a balm in the midst of chaos. a reminder of the trust and loyalty that had carried them this far. The team pressed on, the path narrowing as they approached a steep incline. Tyler took point, moving carefully to find secure footing. He stopped to clear snow from a makeshift shelter, a small outcropping of rocks partially shielded by pine branches. It wasn't much, but it offered a brief refuge from the storm's fury. "Let's get Emily inside," Tyler said, his voice steady but urgent. The medics moved quickly, lifting her onto a stretcher and carrying her into the shelter. Tyler followed, positioning himself at the entrance to shield them from the wind. Inside, the space was cramped and cold, but the shelter offered a crucial sanctuary. Tyler unpacked a compact stove, igniting a small flame that cast flickering shadows on the snow-covered walls. The warmth was immediate, a small victory against the relentless cold. Emily stirred, her eyes fluttering open briefly. Tyler smiled, reaching out to gently grasp her hand. "You're safe for now," he whispered. "We'll get you out of this." Outside, the storm continued its assault. But inside the shelter, a fragile calm settled. Tyler's mind raced with plans for the next leg of the journey: how to traverse the remaining distance to base camp, how to keep Emily stable, how to guide the team through the worsening conditions. Rex lay beside Emily, his body radiating warmth. The dog's steady breathing and quiet presence filled the cramped space with a sense of security. Hours passed, the storm's intensity ebbing and flowing like a living thing. Tyler kept vigil, monitoring Emily's condition and scanning the snow-covered landscape beyond the shelter's thin walls. Each moment was a battle against time and elements. As dawn approached, the storm began to wane, the howling winds giving way to a brittle silence. The first pale light of morning filtered through the trees, casting a fragile glow on the snow-packed ground. Tyler exhaled, relief mingling with exhaustion. They had survived the night's ordeal, but the journey was far from over. He prepared to lead the team onward, helping Emily to stand with the aid of the medics. Her steps were tentative but determined, a testament to her will to live. Rex bounded ahead, nose to the ground, eager to guide them through the final stretch. Together, man, dog, and survivor pressed forward, each step a triumph over the wilderness, each breath a testament to resilience and hope. The blizzard's remnants clung stubbornly to the towering evergreens, their branches weighed down by thick blankets of snow, as Tyler Grant led the recovery team and Emily Dawson through the treacherous forest. The first light of dawn struggled through the heavy gray sky, casting a fragile glow over the frozen landscape. But the calm was deceptive. The storm had left a volatile silence, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. Tyler's boots crunched steadily on the snow-packed ground, eyes darting between the uneven terrain and the fragile figure of Emily, who leaned heavily on the support of two medics. Her cheeks were flushed with a pale pink, evidence of the warming that had begun, but shadowed by exhaustion and the lingering effects of hypothermia. Rex padded close, his ears swiveling at every faint sound. The dog's keen senses detected subtle shifts in the environment, branches creaking under the weight of snow, distant animal calls, and the whisper of the wind threading through the trees. His nose twitched as he picked up scents invisible to human senses, alert to any sign of danger. Suddenly, a thick cloud of white swept through the forest, reducing visibility to almost nothing. Tyler's heart tightened. A whiteout. They had been moving cautiously, but nature had thrown a sudden, suffocating veil over them. The world vanished into a blur of swirling snowflakes and icy gusts. "Hold tight," Tyler barked, his voice barely audible over the roaring wind. He reached out, gripping Emily's arm to steady her as the team slowed to a crawl. The medics, formed a protective circle, keeping Emily shielded from the storm's bite. Rex dropped low to the ground, pressing his nose against the snow, searching for the faintest trail to guide them. His body tensed, muscles coiled like a spring ready to launch. Tyler knew that, in this moment, Rex was their best hope, a living compass cutting through the blizzard's fury. The whiteout thickened, swallowing sound and sight alike. Tyler's grip tightened around Emily's arm, willing her to stay conscious, to fight against the disorienting cold and darkness. Time stretched and warped, each second a fragile thread holding them together. Suddenly, a misstep, a hidden crevice concealed beneath the snow, sent Tyler stumbling, his foot catching on uneven ground. His body pitched forward, and for a heart-stopping moment, he lost sight of Emily, Rex, and the rest of the team. Panic surged through him as he scrambled to his feet, calling out into the swirling white, "Emily! Rex!" His voice was swallowed by the storm. The forest had become a maze of shadows and silence. Rex's bark echoed faintly, a beacon in the blizzard. Tyler lunged in the direction of the sound, muscles burning, lungs gasping against the cold air. The ground beneath him was treacherous, but he pushed forward, guided by the dog's unwavering call. After agonizing moments, Tyler caught sight of Rex, standing firm beside Emily, who was slumped but conscious. Relief washed over him, yet the urgency remained. They had to move, now. Tyler reached them, steadying Emily as Rex licked her face gently, a balm against the encroaching fear. The dog's presence was a lifeline, a reminder of resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. "Hold on," Tyler urged, voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. He signaled to the medics, who quickly gathered around to assist. Together, they formed a tight formation, moving carefully through the blizzard's grip. Rex led the way, nose low to the ground, navigating the invisible path with unerring precision. Tyler followed closely, eyes focused, every nerve on edge. The storm continued its assault, but the team's resolve was unshakable. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours as they battled through the whiteout. Emily's breaths were shallow but steady, a testament to her will to survive. Tyler kept speaking to her, his voice a tether pulling her through the darkness. Finally, a faint glow pierced the storm, a distant flare from the rescue camp. Hope surged within the team. Tyler quickened his pace, supporting Emily as best he could, the promise of warmth and safety drawing them forward. The whiteout began to lift, the storm's grip loosening its hold. The forest emerged from the haze, revealing the familiar outlines of the camp. Tents pitched against the snow, rescuers moving with purpose, and the distant hum of engines preparing for evacuation. Tyler allowed himself a breath, exhaustion threatening to overwhelm him. But the sight of safety rekindled his strength. Emily's hand tightened around his, a silent thank you passing between them. Rex barked softly, tail wagging despite the cold, his role fulfilled but ever vigilant. As they crossed into the camp's embrace, Tyler knew the ordeal was far from over. But for now, they were out of the storm's clutches. The bond forged in the wilderness, between man, dog, and survivor, had carried them through the darkest night. And as Emily was tended to by medical personnel, Tyler allowed himself a moment to reflect on the fierce resilience that had saved her life, and the unyielding spirit that would see them through whatever lay ahead. The roar of the helicopter blades cut through the crisp morning air, a lifeline slicing through the silence of the snow-covered clearing. Tyler Grant stood beside the stretcher, watching as Emily Dawson's pale form was carefully lifted into the belly of the waiting aircraft. The tension that had gripped him for hours began to ebb, replaced by a mix of exhaustion and quiet relief. Rex sat obediently at Tyler's side, his amber eyes following the movements of the medics with unwavering focus. The dog's keen senses remained alert, the embodiment of loyalty forged through countless missions and unyielding trust. The storm that had raged through the night was finally abating, the first golden rays of dawn piercing through the dissipating clouds. The frozen forest, once a maze of peril and uncertainty, now seemed almost serene, a silent witness to the ordeal that had unfolded within its grasp. Tyler's gaze drifted back to Emily, her chest rising and falling steadily beneath the layers of blankets. The frailty of her form belied the strength she had shown, an indomitable will to survive against overwhelming odds. As the helicopter prepared for takeoff, Tyler felt the weight of the night's events settle heavily on his shoulders. The battle against the elements, the delicate dance of survival, had reached its climax. But it was Rex's steadfast presence, the unspoken bond between man and dog, that had been their greatest weapon. The medics secured Emily, their practiced hands moving quickly yet tenderly. Tyler stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You made it," he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. "You're going to be okay." Emily's eyes fluttered open, meeting his with a faint but genuine smile. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice fragile but filled with gratitude. Rex let out a low, comforting whine, nuzzling Emily's hand before settling at her feet. The dog's loyalty was a silent vow, a promise that no matter the darkness, he would remain by her side. As the helicopter lifted off, Tyler watched the forest recede beneath them, the vast expanse of white stretching to the horizon. The mission was far from over. Emily's recovery awaited, along with the quiet reckoning that often followed such trials. But in this moment, suspended between earth and sky, there was a profound sense of victory, a testament to resilience, courage, and the extraordinary bond that had carried them through the night. Tyler turned to Rex, who met his gaze with unwavering trust. Together, they would face whatever came next, bound by the shared experience of survival and the hope of new beginnings. The helicopter's hum faded into the distance, carrying Emily toward healing and the promise of life beyond the wilderness. And as the sun rose higher, casting light on a world reborn from the storm, Tyler and Rex remained, a steadfast duo, guardians of hope amid the vast, wild unknown. Weeks had passed since the harrowing rescue in the frozen wilderness, yet the memory of that bitter night lingered in Emily Dawson's mind like an indelible mark. The sterile whiteness of the hospital room was a stark contrast to the vast, unforgiving forest where her life had hung by a thread. But here, surrounded by beeping monitors and the soft murmur of nurses, she was alive and healing. The door opened quietly, and Tyler Grant stepped inside, his presence calm and steady. His military jacket was replaced by a simple sweater, but the strength in his posture remained unmistakable. At his side, Rex padded softly, his keen eyes bright with recognition. Emily's face lit up with a tired but genuine smile as Tyler approached. "Hey," he said softly, pulling a chair close to her bedside. "Hey," she replied, her voice still fragile but stronger than before. "I was hoping you'd come." Rex settled at the foot of her bed, resting his head gently on the blanket. The dog's warmth was a comforting presence, a living reminder of the bond forged in the wilderness. Tyler glanced at the monitors, then back to Emily. "You're making good progress," he said. "Doctors say you're stable and recovering well. You're tougher than you realize." Emily chuckled softly, the sound light but filled with gratitude. "I had a good team watching over me." Tyler's eyes softened. "It was a team effort. But Rex and I, We're glad we were there when you needed us most. The room filled with a quiet understanding, the unspoken connection between survivor, rescuer, and loyal companion binding them together. Emily's gaze shifted to Rex, who lifted his head and gave a gentle wag of his tail. "He saved my life," she whispered. "I don't know how I can ever thank you both." Tyler smiled, reaching down to stroke Rex's head. "You don't have to. It's what we do." For a moment, the three of them sat in comfortable silence, a shared peace born from chaos and survival. As the afternoon sun filtered through the window, casting warm light across the room, Tyler spoke again. "When you're ready, there's a whole world out there waiting, and we'll be here to help you face it." Emily nodded, determination flickering in her eyes. "I want to get back out there. Not just survive, but live." Tyler's smile deepened. "That's the spirit." He stood and prepared to leave, but paused at the door, glancing back over his shoulder. "You're not alone, Emily. Whatever comes next, we've got your back." With one last look, Tyler and Rex stepped out into the hallway, leaving Emily to rest, but not alone. The bond they shared was a testament to resilience, hope, and the extraordinary connection between a woman and her dog. Outside, Rex trotted beside Tyler, their footsteps echoing in the quiet corridor. Together, they faced whatever challenges lay ahead, united by an unbreakable trust forged in the heart of the wilderness. And as the sun set beyond the city skyline, a new chapter began, one of healing, friendship, and the enduring power of loyalty.